What's up guys, my name's Stu, and today we're looking at the new Hydra Intel Destroyer. The Hydra has probably been the most popular ship to come out of the 13th anniversary bundle. In fact, Kale actually confirmed that on last night's 10-4 Weekly. Honestly, that's not really much of a surprise to me because, one, it's an Intel ship, which means it's better suited to an energy weapon build, which I feel like are more popular among most of the player base than like a torpedo build, which is why this is probably outperforming the Eagle in terms of sales. It's also got a Lieutenant Commander pilot seat, and while, I've always had my criticisms about pilot, it has been recently revamped, and I know there are still a good number of people who still like pilot seating due to, some of the gimmicks that it comes with. But I think it's mostly due to the fact that it's the freaking Prometheus, man! This is a long-time fan-favorite ship, and we finally have one with good seating on it. But yeah, enough yakking for me. Let's get a closer look at this thing and see what it can do. Here she is, the Hydra. I know it looks like a Prometheus class right now, but I promise you, it's the Hydra. Now, with this video, what I'm going to be doing is similar to what I did with my World Razor video, where instead of going into super intricate detail about the one specific build I did for this, which honestly isn't going to be that different from past builds I've done on other ships, I'm going to be going over what this ship is capable of doing, what types of builds it's capable of doing, and how best to use it. I'm also going to be going over the different stuff it comes with, the new trait, the new experimental weapon, and the new console. We're going to be going into a little bit of what those can do and how well they perform. Now, if you are interested in that more intricate information, I will include a link to the Visual Glossary for Easy Reference, or VGR. This is a glossary that features the image art of every piece of gear and starship trait and personal trait in the game. Just find the artwork that matches the piece of gear that you're curious about, click on it, and the glossary will tell you what it is, where it comes from, and what it does. Now, the Hydra is an Intel ship, so obviously that means Surgical Strikes is going to be a possibility here. Surgical Strikes is an exceptionally powerful firing mode that increases your crit chance and crit severity by a significant amount. One of the nice things about Surgical Strikes is that it does not discriminate between cannons and beams. It will buff all energy weapons regardless, which is why I am mixing cannons and beams quite a lot in this build. Actually, I'll do a quick overview of these just because I haven't used some of them before. That's the Terran Task Force Dual Heavy Cannon from the Terran Task Force Reputation, the Discovery Reputation Dual Beam Bank, the Terran Task Force Beam Array, the White Arc Phase Cannons, which are from the Lobi Store, the Dark Matter Quantum Torpedo from the Discovery Reputation. I'm actually using the full 3-piece on this one. In the back is the Trilithium Omni Beam for the extra haste, and that is the wrong Omni Beam. I thought that was going to be the Agony Omni Beam. That is the Pen Omni Beam, which is not the one I wanted. I know Spencer did that test of different phaser beams, including Pen, and Pen actually did surprisingly well on the test, and Agony did surprisingly poorly. But keep in mind, Pen did so well because there was no active debuffing going on. If you have more debuffing going on in whatever run you're doing, Pen isn't going to do nearly as well. And I have Attack Pattern Beta on this build, so honestly, the Pen is kind of pointless. That should have been the Agony Omni Beam. Or really any other beam, frankly. Honestly, no. What I should have done is use the Trilithium turret and get an extra chance for that haste buff. That's what I should have done. Trilithium turret. Oh well, too late now. Because this is a Surgical Strikes build. Surgical Strikes crits nearly 100% of the time, so I am putting much more focus into crit severity than crit chance, which I should probably show you. There we go. Now, a couple things I did include here. Obviously, I wanted to play around with the new console, the Harmonic Yield Distribution via Radial Aperture, which is just a mouthful to say. It's the Hydra console. They couldn't have just put Hydra there, like, with the Domino console. That's an acronym too. But at least, it's a lot easier to say. Just make it Hydra. Jesus. Anyway, this is here. I'm actually having a lot of fun with this console. It's pretty hard if you've got enough pets out and if you time it just right, because it does have a bit of a build-up time, which can be kind of annoying, so you really want to get your timing right with this. I'll go into a little more detail on that later. I also included the old multi-vector assault mode console on this thing, which, yeah, I know this comes with its own little light version of multi-vector assault mode, but honestly I had trouble with it, mostly just, because for one, each one has its own individual cooldown. So they wouldn't always line up together, and that would be really frustrating. Because even though it's only the light multi-vector assault mode only lasts a minute, it still has a full 2-minute cooldown, which is separate from the active ability from the Hydra console. The Engage Hydra, or Engage the Hydra, I should say. yeah, 2 separate cooldowns, and lining them up correctly is can be a bit of a pain in the butt, which is why I included the normal multi-vector assault mode console. It makes it much easier to deal with because you don't have to worry about the limited 60-second mode, and plus you actually get more options for the multi-vector assault mode because this one only gives you multi-vector assault mode alpha, which is actually probably the worst one because it actually lowers your weapons subsystem power and increases your shields, engines, and auxiliary. Whereas beta, that's the one you want because that one actually buffs your weapons power and also gives you the best buff to your flight speed and turn rate. So yeah, by using the console, you get access to beta. I mean, not going to be a huge buff, but if I'm going to use it, I may as well have the best version of it. Come on. Another reason I included the multi-vector assault mode console is because, I mean, it's a Prometheus class. If you're going to use the Prometheus class, you want the full Prometheus class experience, and that experience includes the multi-vector assault mode because that's what we saw it do in the show. That's one of the big things about the ship. It can split into 3 smaller ships, and that's really cool because at the time we had never seen anything else like that in Star Trek. Well, I guess, I mean, there's the saucer separation of the galaxy, but you know, that was only 2. This is 3. It's totally different. Another reason to use the multi-vector assault mode console is because I am also using the trait off of this starship, which is the Strike Group Command Authority, which is supposed to be buffing those pets that are generated by the multi-vector assault mode. Next, I'm going to show you a couple of different combat logs. This first one is from a 9th Rule Patrol. As you can see, the ship did about 276k, which, not bad. I mean, I did have 1 death because I was fighting against the Hirogen, and I kept using freaking Sub-Nuke on me, which kept canceling all my abilities, which was really annoying, and before that, I had gotten the Mokai, and I really just did not want to sit through another 30-minute cooldown. So the next one I'm going to show you is from a pugged ISA, just to show you a bit of comparison. But even with these not super great results, I mean, there's still a pretty good performance out of it, and it gives me a chance to show you a couple things. First off, yeah, first, Surgical Strikes hits like a truck, but also, look at all that pet damage. This is from a ship that doesn't even have a hangar bay. It's a lot of pet damage, and the reason for that is because of the Hydra. The advanced reinforcement fires, those are from the bridge officer ability reinforcement squadrons. That is all damage thanks to the engage Hydra. Yeah, 66k, that's fantastic. This console really excels in a environment where you have a lot of enemies to hit because each pet will hit multiple different targets. So the more pets you have and the more targets you have, the more damage this console is going to do. So the potential damage output for this thing is kind of ridiculous. See, that's where most of this damage is coming from. So we've got 66k from the advanced reinforcement fighters, another 11 from the USS Hydra. That's both of the 2 pets from the multi-vector assault mode. Then there's the loitering munitions. That is the experimental weapon. That did 3k. That's actually not great. I don't know if those are actually being affected by the Hydra console or not, because that's a huge difference right there. I'm a little concerned about that because I really wanted to like this experimental weapon, and right now I'm really not liking it, and I'm gonna like it even less in the next parse. You'll just wait for that. But yeah, on top of that, I mean, then you get another 15k just from your own spread of the Hydra console. This thing, in the right environment, this thing is really nice. Now, let's take a look at that ISA I talked about, because, hold on, I gotta close this. Take a look at this ISA. Now, this was a pugged ISA, which I did very well. Apologies to this person, I probably AFK'd. I'm very sorry, I did not mean to do that. But yeah, 431 in a random ISA run, that is kind of crazy. Now, you'll see here, the pet damage is quite a lot less than that. Yeah, down here, pets only did a total of 6k. That's so much lower, and that is because a typical ISA run, especially this one, very quick. So the bit of build-up time that you have on the Hydra console, it takes about 3 seconds for that thing to go off, and the stuff typically dies really quickly in advanced TFOs. So you're gonna have to be in an environment where there's a lot of pets being around, and particularly in an environment where they're not gonna be destroyed terribly quickly. Now, admittedly, part of this was my fault, you know, the lack of pet damage, because my timing did get a bit screwed up on using the Hydra console. But yeah, that's because stuff died quicker than I thought it would, because there's that 3 second build-up time. So you really got to time that carefully, otherwise you're not going to get that much out of it. Because like in this run, I only had the chance to use it once, and it was on the second transformer because the first one had already blown up. I should have used it on the cube. Of course, I mean, if anyone has ever been in an advanced ISA with a high-end DPS, or you know, that first cube tends to just get annihilated right away because you know those standard cubes, those things are made of freaking tissue paper. Now, if I had done this in ISE, it probably would have done much better because, you know, you got that big, beefy tactical cube at the, you know, in the first wave. I could have used it on that. You know, it could take some hits, and then, you know, the extra Hydra damage would spread out to all the other adds there, you know, the other cubes and the spheres. Could have been a nice opening volley there, but for ISA, it's too slow. Another thing to note is that the USS Hydra, that is the multi-vector assault mode pets. I was using the Hydra Starship trait, so even with that bonus damage buff, these things still only did less than 5k DPS. Now, that is just pathetically low, even for pets. Like, you know, I can get even small hanger pets to get way more than that, just with the help of a couple of traits. And this trait is supposed to be helping with this, but I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying the problem with that with this is that just the very nature of the multi-vector assault mode pets themselves. The AI on them is just, it's too stupid. The pets move really slow. They, you know, they use abilities whenever they want, and even then, those are still very slow to fire off, and they have very few weapons. If, you know, if Cryptic really wants these pets to be worth, you know, anything, they really need to do like a serious rework of this. But of course, the problem there is the multi-vector assault mode console is a very old console, and Cryptic doesn't tend to modify existing content like that. They would be more likely to just release a new one. And if they were going to release a new multi-vector assault mode console, they would have done with this, but, you know, they didn't. So obviously they're probably not going to, because right now, if you want multi-vector assault mode to be of any practical use, it needs a complete rework, because as it is, it's pathetic. As it is, its only use right now is that Hydra console, because you just need more pets to feed into the active ability of the Hydra console. And even then, that's going to be served way better on a ship with hangar bays, because then you're going to be able to get several pets out there at once instead of just these two multi-vector assault mode separation pets. Now, just because this ship is an intel ship doesn't mean it can only do surgical strikes. This thing is still an escort, which means it is perfectly capable of doing other firing modes. I've also loaded this thing up with cannon scatter volley, but you could easily do rapid fire, or if you prefer beams, you could do beam overload or beam fire at will. Frankly, the overall setup wouldn't be that different. All you really need to do is just, you know, put in whatever firing mode you want. And here, you know, we've got scatter volley here where surgical strikes was, or, you know, you can move it around a little bit if it's beam overload, because beam overload will be a lower level ability. So then you can just probably put it up here where I've got attack pattern beta, and, you know, then since beta has gone from there, you can put attack pattern beta 3 up here in the commander seat. And then all you got to do is change out the starship trait, in which case, you know, that's the firing mode trait. You know, got withering barrage over here for scatter volley. For the surgical strikes, it's vanguard specialists, and, you know, for beam overload, it would be super weapon ingenuity, and, you know, the others. Now, for the scatter volley build, I did make another change as well, because, you know, I was using the combination of immolating phaser lance and universal designs on the surgical strikes build, so I figured I'd tone it down a little bit just to show off a trait I like to do with pilot ships. I've talked about this a bit before, and that is using synthetic good fortune in combination with fresh from R&R, and to do that, I'm using 2 seats of pilot team. By using 2 seats of pilot team, I am going to be quickly building up stacks of crit chance with synthetic good fortune, because every time I activate a pilot ability or a control ability, I gain a stack from the starship trait, and that will buff my crit chance and my control expertise. Now, I could use any number of pilot abilities, but the reason I'm using 2 seats of pilot team specifically is because with fresh from R&R, they will have a very low minimal cooldown, and pilot team already has a pretty low cooldown because, you know, it's a team ability. But with fresh from R&R, their shared cooldown will be very quick. So, activate that. Look at that. The other one is only on 10 seconds, so I will be able to activate that in 10 seconds. And 3, 2, 1. Boom. There's the other one. And now that's still up there. But with proper cooldown management from the Boimler effect, you know, that thing, you know, or, you know, just with like a normal Ox to Bat build, you know, that'll get lower, so I can just continually spam those. Plus, I'll also have reinforcement squadrons, which I won't have on a lot of other builds where I typically do this with. But with that, that's just going to be more addition to Synthetic Good Fortune. I also added the other Prometheus console onto the CSV build, the High Energy Plasma Expulsor. I think that's how you pronounce that. Honestly, this thing's pretty crap too, but honestly, I really just use this for the two-piece bonus, which gives a bit more crit severity, or which gives a bit more crit chance, not crit severity, crit chance, and a little bit more energy weapon damage. And that's going to give a little bit more crit chance, which is nice because this is not surgical strikes. Crit chance is going to be a little bit more important. Mine's already still pretty high, which is why I didn't swap out the exploiters, but that is mostly because of my endeavors. Your numbers will vary, so you're going to want to adjust that to your liking. So yeah, back to the question of what can this ship do? Well, the Hydra can do pretty much anything energy weapon based. So if you like surgical strikes, or if you like any of the other more basic firing modes, even if you like route reserves to weapons, you can even do that on here. You know, you won't have the max level version of it because you only have a lieutenant commander seat, but it is an option if you really like it. It doesn't have a command seat, so it's not well suited for torpedo builds, but honestly, I think that's why this is doing better than the Eagle, because, I mean, just based off my own analytics alone and just comments from a lot of you guys, torpedo builds really aren't that popular with the majority of the player base. That's really just been something that, you know, the DPS chasers get really into, and, you know, that's just because, you know, high deeps numbers. Energy weapons are far more popular among the majority of the player base, and that's largely because, you know, that's the kind of stuff you see in the shows. You typically see a mix of phasers and torpedoes in the shows, and that's why I think they're more popular for people to fly on their ships. So yeah, if you are into that style of gameplay more so than this, yeah, this is going to be right up your alley. But more than that, if you are someone who really likes pet builds like myself, this is going to have some fun toys that are going to be very helpful with that. The trait, definitely going to be helpful with that, as is the console, assuming you are in the right environment for it. Plus the ship itself. I mean, it's fast, it's nimble, it's gorgeous. I mean, what's not to love here? It's the Prometheus. The Prometheus that we have deserved for a long time. Yes, I know there's already the, you know, the Hestia, the T6 Prometheus from before, but this one's better. So yeah, that is the Hydra. Let me know what you guys think down below, because I've been really impressed with it. I'm really interested to see what you guys think about it. And as always, while you're down there, be sure to hit like and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. If you'd like to further support the channel, you can hit that join button to become a channel member for extra benefits, or you can hit that super thanks button, or you can find the link to the merch store in the video's description. Either way, thank you so much for watching. My name's Stu, and I will see you guys next time.